Desire. Hold on.
Good.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with JIDE. Here we'll talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Emirship. Today on the show, police summoned Emir Sanusi to Abuja as Kano's Emir or Emirship Tussle gets Messier. In the course of the program, we'll take your questions, but first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. It's important to mention that we can only read comments with human names and the ones based on the subject matter. I have joining me via Zoom the master himself, Babajide Kolade Tutoju. Good to see you. Thank you.
Good evening, Ibrahim. Good evening to our esteemed viewers.
Right. The Court of Appeal in January 2025 upheld the Kano State government's repeal of the 2019 Emirate Council law, affirming Muhammad Sanusi II's reinstatement as the 16th Emir of Kano. Given this judicial support, how do you assess the police or the police's decision to summon him to Abuja over alleged defiance of the Durban ban during Eid al-Fitr?
Well, what you just said now amounts to stale news. The developments in respect of the Kano Emirates Tussle have moved rapidly beyond that point. It's true that the appeal court affirmed that the Federal High Court did not have jurisdiction to entertain chieftaincy matters, and set aside the order of the Federal High Court. But the fellow who took the state government to court appealed to the Supreme Court, ultimately seeking to ensure that the appeal court judgment was not implemented. Of course, the matter was sent back to the appeal court, and the appeal court, a couple of weeks back, directed that the status quo ante be maintained, because in the wisdom of the court, to implement the order of the appeal court when the appellant has proceeded to the highest court in the land would amount to miscarriage of justice. So what we have now in Kano is the order of the appeal court. The appeal court, because you can go back to a court that gave an order. You can complain. A court can sometimes give you bail conditions that you felt were too punitive, too tough. You can go back to that same court to waive the bail conditions, to make them easier to meet. So these things happen. Now, the appeal court gave a directive that the status quo ante be maintained, meaning that its own judgment should not be implemented. So what it means is that once the status quo ante has been ordered maintained, effectively, Muhammadu Sanusi is not by law Emir of Kano, because the parties were directed to not implement, to allow the status quo to be maintained. What was the status quo? The status quo was Aminu Ado Bayero was the Emir. He went to court to say that in removing him in the manner that the government did, the government infringed on his fundamental rights. And then he also challenged the revocation of the Kano Emirates law 2019. He decided to to challenge the government's decision to revoke that law and bring in another law which which brought Muhammad Sanusi back as Emir and dissolved the new Emirates like Kano that were created by the Ganduje administration at that time. So, as far as the law is concerned, no Emir, Muhammad Sanusi has not been installed as Emir, because the appeal court said his order should not be implemented because of the decision of the appellant to proceed to the Supreme Court. So that is the situation that we have now. Kano's situation is peculiar and it's a shameful one. There are two emirs in Kano. One occupies the main palace. The other one, Aminu Ado Bayero, who was removed as emir at a time when he was in Abuja, is occupying the annex, the annex of the palace, which is in the Nasarawa area of Kano, not far from the government house. The other emir, the one that the current administration in the state brought back to power, Muhammadu Sanusi, is occupying the main palace. He was hurriedly brought into the palace in the night because they got information that the former emir was being brought back from Abuja with the desire to go and put him in the palace to make his removal difficult. And despite the fact that the government told him to not get close to the palace, there was a feeling that his supporters in Abuja, some of his supporters in government, will try to bring him into that palace, use the armed forces to bring him back to the palace. So right now, you can technically say that there is no emir in Kano. Two persons are contesting for the stool. The court cases have not been completely resolved. If the appeal court had not listened to Bafa Danagundi, who took the matter to court, if the appeal court had said, no, we do not find merit in your agitation to ask for, to ensure that there is a stay of execution this matter, then you can say that effectively Muhammadu Sanusi has had his position validated by the law courts. But as far as we are concerned right now, based on the last order of the appeal court, which says that, yes, we gave this order, but we are now saying that the status quo should be maintained until the matter is decided by the apex court. It means that they've gone back to ground zero, and effectively Aminu Ado Bayero is the emir. Many people will argue that Aminu Ado Bayero is the emir since the decision to put Muhammadu Sanusi there has now been put in abeyance by the same court of appeal that gave him judgment, favorable judgment in the first place. So I believe that the matter is clear now. There are two emirs in Kano. this time. Now, the tradition in Kano is that a day after the um, celebration of Salah, the emir would do what is called Hawan Daushe. This Hawan Daushe means that the emir will ride on his horse, accompanied by title chiefs and other people, and he will move around the city. After Hawan Daushe, there is also Hawan Nasarawa. This one involves the emir, his chiefs, and other big people riding on the horse from his palace to the government house to pay homage to the um, governor. Both celebrations did not take place. Why? On Salah Day, Emir Muhammadu Sanusi led prayers at the Kofamata open Eid ground, and on his way back to his palace, he was being insulted. Some were stoning him, and ultimately it led to fracas. The emir was tear gassed along with the rioters, and 2 persons died. Once the situation degenerated into crisis, the police moved in. The police moved in, barricaded the roads, all the entry points into the palace, and effectively encircled the palace. That was why the emir couldn't do the Doba. That was why he couldn't do the traditional homage paying to the governor of the state, because he would once, when he's paying the homage, he will talk about his achievements in the past year and make some suggestions to the government about how to conduct the affairs of the state. That tradition had been there since the colonial days. That tradition, this time around, the Emir Sanusi couldn't even come out of his palace and to fulfill that tradition. Both the Doba, the colorful Doba that we usually see, that was Hawan Daushe, did not take place. The traditional paying of homage to the governor, which also involved the emir riding on his horse for about 10 kilometers to the government house, also didn't take place. This is because of the crisis that we have on ground and the fact that the police, that had always feared that this matter could lead to bloodshed, decided to secure the area leading to the palace of Emir Sanusi. So the emir is boxed inside his palace. Even if he wanted to go out for those traditional ceremonies that I talked about earlier, those 2 traditional ceremonies, there was no way he could have come out, because you remember the police warned that neither of those 2 emirs should go out to celebrate the Doba, the Hawan Daushe, and what's it called, the Hawan Nasarawa. So the police must have felt that it will make sense to to implement its own directive by making sure that the Emir Sanusi did not come out of his palace to then proceed on that procession on horseback and all that. So one big tradition for about which Kano has been well reputed, very colorful event during which even the international community gets represented. It didn't happen because of the shameful contestation for emirship in Kano. So it didn't happen. It also, the other one also didn't. So What I have, what we've seen is a situation in which politicians have literally taken over the matter of the traditional institution in the state. The state, Kano is now effectively divided along political lines when it comes to the traditional institution. Emir Aminu Ado Bayero, his biggest support comes from the APC leaders, elements loyal to the former administration in the state, while Emir Sanusi derives his power from the Abba Kabri Yusuf's government in Kano. That's effectively the Kwankwaso loyalists. This is how it is in Kano. And if care is not taken, the matter will continue to get worse. If just coming out of the Eid grant, the Emir Sanusi can be stoned to the point that the rioters had to be restrained with tear gas, and the Emir himself was seriously affected. There are videos showing the Emir, in distress as a result of the inhalation of tear gas. Then no one can predict what will happen in the coming days as both men continue to make a claim for the emirships too in Kano. One complex matter about this whole contest, about this whole battle for Emir of Kano stool, is the fact that the previous administration created new emirates, created 5 emirates. Now, the new administration came and cancelled those emirates, effectively ensuring that the whole of Kano, which is 44 local government, has only one first-class traditional ruler, and that is the Emir of Kano. So, no Emir in Kano apart from the Emir of Kano, based on the new law that the Abba Kabri Yusuf administration created, and through the instrumentality of that law, Emir Sanusi was brought back to the throne. So the 5 emirates, people in the communities that benefited from the creation of 5 emirates, politicians from that end, a lot of them are not happy with the current administration in Kano because they have lost the privilege of having emirs. Apart from Sokoto, where the Sultan is the sole first-class traditional ruler, Kano is the place where we also have something similar. Now, based on this law, based on the repeal of the 2019 law. So, that's why I'm saying that the state is polarized. Those politicians from those 5 communities, 5 that had emirates created their favor, they are not happy because some of the big politicians in those places also became high chiefs, title holders and all that. So this has effectively brought them to ground zero, and they are not happy. So they are all making steps. Sides have been taken. An Emir of Kano used to be a unifying figure, and everyone rallied around him. But what we have effectively now is a situation in which the community is divided. Now, the police have said, okay, based on the riot, based on the incident that happened after Emir Sanusi finished leading prayers on Salah Day and the death of 2 persons, that they are investigating what happened, and a letter inviting him dated 4th April 2025 was addressed to him by CP Olajide Rufus Bitoye on behalf of the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Force Intelligence Department. So that letter was addressed to him on the 4th of April, and is billed to appear on Tuesday, the 8th of April 2025 at 10 a.m. And let me read a bit of what was contained in the letter. I have the directives of the Inspector General of Police through the DIG Force Intelligence Department to invite you for an investigative meeting with regards to an incident that occurred during the Salah celebration within your domain. Your your appearance is highly sought for a purposeful investigation. So it's been the Emir Sanusi has been asked to show up in Abuja for questioning
That's
on
right.
the riot that happened after he led prayers on Saturday, leading to the death of two persons. One of them was actually shot with a
Mm.
Dane gun by, he was a vigilante operative
Member.
and was
Yeah.
shot with a Dane gun. So we all know what it means when somebody of the rank of an emir is asked to come and
Yeah.
explain certain things
That's right,
in
because
police.
so if you look at the summons to Abuja, others believe that it pits federal police against a state-backed emir. Does this reflect deeper tensions between federal and state powers in Nigeria, especially in the context of Kano's traditional institutions, vis-a-vis the balkanization of the traditional position? You talk about the creation of Bichi, Rano, Karaye, and Gaia, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah, yeah. It's you see, the truth is based on the reform carried out on the traditional institution led in 1976 by the Dasuki, the late Sultan of Sokoto. Traditional rulers do not have as much powers as some Nigerians give them. Traditional rulers are actually meant to report to the chairman of the local government where they are domiciled. So whether you are a first class traditional ruler or not, the chairman of your local government is your boss. At the time Dasuki was came up with this reform, he never knew that he would become a sultan. So effectively, you reduce the powers of and influence of traditional rulers by bringing them under the authority of the local government chairman. So, as far as the police are concerned, a traditional ruler is not too big to be questioned. But we all know that someone of the status of the Emir of Kano, if you invite him in this manner, it amounts to denigrating and diminishing the stool. That is the way many people will see it. And the police will keep arguing that, look, we suspect that there will be an outbreak of violence. And that was why we said there should be no Durbar this year, because the two emirs have this habit of going out for prayers accompanied by huge crowds. If you see the crowd of Aminu Ado Bayero, for example, you will not believe that he was deposed as emir. He just left for Lesser Hajj. I saw videos of people accompanying him, as he was going to the airport to board an airplane to Mecca. I couldn't believe my eyes. But it shows that both emirs have tremendous followership. Both emirs have supporters in large numbers. And this raises the possibility of a clash in future between supporters of both emirs if their paths collide. So there is tension about that. The possibility of supporters of both emirs clashing if they are not monitored effectively, if the security agencies do not find a way to ensure
Yeah.
that they do not come together in any way.
Yeah.
So I don't know what will happen tactically speaking. Emir Sanusi is under house arrest. He has not been able to come out of his palace. In fact, when the one Kano died, normally he was one of the most respected chiefs in Kano. As councillor, was one of the most respected chiefs. You will expect that Emir Sanusi will move around to greet the families of the deceased, but he still remains inside his palace with police blocking the entrance and exit to the palace.
All
So
right.
I do not know at this point whether he will honor the summon by the IG through the office of the DIG Force Investigative Department. I do
Right.
not know yet, but this is a significant development, and
That's
allied with all of what has happened, it shows clearly that the matter of the Emir of Kano and the resolution is still very much in the air.
right. Let me take some comments. Banji Okesoto says lawyers in this country often struggle with admitting defeat. Instead, they misinterpret judgment potentially for financial gains from their clients. Nelson Adufe says, good evening, BKO. Which body is empowered to investigate, analyze, and dedicate according to some book of law in this regard? The tussle for emirship should not be state government affairs at all. Raymond Osaz says, Mr. BKO, I think the old format of emirship or emirship is better. Akimbola Olushe says, good evening, BKO. The Kano Emir traditional stool is going to degenerate into serious crisis. The government must curtail it, which the political coloration and has political intricacy or intricate for 2027. Victor says politics and traditional institute doesn't go well or don't go well together, especially in our own settings. Our people are too emotional and using sentiments when it comes to politics and traditional institution. Let me take comment from other sources. Aminu Bello says, Sanusi is the rightful emir, reinstated by law and loved by the people. This police invitation is just another attempt to humiliate him. RIP Surajo Rabiu, but don't blame the emir for doing this during his duty, during age. Then Fatima Ibrahim says, how can the police summon an emir to Abuja over a procession? This is disrespect to Kano's traditional traditions. Sanusi was leading his people, not starting a fight. The NPF should focus on real criminals, not our leaders. Let me take this last comment and I ask my last question. Chukudi Okeke says, violence happened, a man died, Surajo Rabiu, and someone has to answer for it. Sanusi was in charge of that procession, so the police are right to question him, legal or not, an emir isn't above the law. So my question, Vicky, we can see division even among our viewers as we speak. If you look at the emirship tussle, it has seen both Sanusi and Bayero Assad rival double plans. And now a police investigation into Sanusi. What does this escalation suggest about the broader challenge of preserving the relevance and unity of Kano's traditional leadership in modern Nigeria?
I think that when you look at the increasing influence of politicians in the choice of traditional rulers is what is eroding the value, the relevance, and the powers of traditional rulers in our country. Every governor wants to bring in his own person as an emir. In fact, somebody suggested that in future, when governors are contesting, they will put the picture of their preferred emir beside them so that they can get votes. In the past, it was not like this. If kingmakers chose an emir, governors will allow their decision to stand. But you and I know that even in Kano, when Emir Sanusi, the Emir Sanusi was not originally the choice of the kingmakers. One of the sons of the late Emir Adobaero was the choice. And Emir Sanusi, then known as Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, had even congratulated the choice of the kingmakers in a tweet, only for the then governor Kwankwaso to get the kingmakers to change their choice. And a man who had congratulated the winner was suddenly made emir. It led to riots in Kano at that time, to the point that Emir Sanusi could not even get into the palace. He was inaugurated as emir, he was turbaned as emir inside the government house. Inside the government house. There's a hall in government house, Kano, where Sanusi was turbaned as emir, because they couldn't do it in the palace because people were very angry and they rioted. So it's such a shameful thing that politicians have literally taken over the traditional institution, and they don't care about the choice of kingmakers anymore. They impose their will on the people, they impose their own traditional rulers. And as long as this continues, the traditional institution will no longer retain the value and the respect that Nigerians accord it, because people will know that the person chosen was not the choice of kingmakers. The person chosen was the choice of the governors and his friends. So this is where it begins. When you look in the past, it was not like this. And emirs, obas, and ezes were respected, highly respected. But today, who will respect an emir that people know that his choice was political rather than traditional? So this is our politicians need to be spoken to. Their increasing involvement in the choice of emirs, in the choice of obas, the choice of ezes, are not helping matters. That's why we have conflicts here and there. But the conflict over emirship in Kano has to be handled in a very, very careful manner so that it does not degenerate, because I can tell you both emirs have a huge number of supporters. You cannot believe it. Next time Emir Bayero is going for Friday prayers, Jumat prayers, check the number of people accompanying him. It's always very impressive. And when Sanusi too is going for prayers, it's the same thing that happens. Both of them have tremendous following. The matter has effectively divided Kano State, not just Kano City, Kano State. So everybody is waiting for the Supreme Court to decide this matter, so that this embarrassing situation, state of affairs, with Kano having two emirs, will come to an end, because it's unprecedented in the history of the state for us to have two emirs of Kano. It's unprecedented.
Right. Let me take one or two comments. I think we'll have just about 2 minutes to go. Ngozi Adebayo says, I'm not from Kano, but this looks like a power play between federal and state. Sanusi gets invited to Abuja while the governor backs him. Poor Suraj Jorabi's family is caught in the middle of this nonsense. And Miriam Abdullahi says, I saw the procession. It was huge, joyful until the clash. Sanusi didn't start the violence. It's unfair to pin this on him. the police should be investigating who attacked, not the emir. Hashtag Sanusi is innocent. And then right there on YouTube, we have Nelson saying, police invitation doesn't mean the emir Sanusi will be intimidated in any sense. When should these matters stop? Kingmaker should be allowed to decide the emir and not the court or the government. Mintu Sanga says, BKO, given his recent historical activities, why is Emir Sanusi Lamido so partisan? Is political behavior normal as an emir? I wanted to answer that question, but let me just take these comments. JIDE, people are disappointed. Come on. Yeah, I wanted to respond to that message. The question from Mitun Sanga saying, why is Emir Sanusi Lamido so partisan? Is political behavior normal as an emir? I do not know exactly what he's referring to. Maybe his recent action or his previous actions.
No doubt about it, because of the conflict between him and former governor Ganduje. Emir Sanusi found it convenient to support Kwankwaso. And the information that I got was that they even promised him that if he supported them and they win the election, he could be on his way back to the throne. So he did not pretend to be supporting the Kwankwaso group, because as far as he's concerned, he cannot be supporting a government that chased him away from his throne. So all along, Sanusi did whatever he could to ensure that Kwankwaso's NNPP carried the day in Kano, because he was probably, as I had promised, that if they won the election, they will bring him back to power. So it's a case of, oh, APC, you people chased me away from my throne, from my palace. I have no obligation to support you. Politicians and traditional rulers are increasingly getting involved in politics. No doubt about it. And it's not helpful at all. It's not helpful. What is going on in Kano is not an ideal situation. To have two emirs of Kano, as is the case now, it's not what anyone wants to see. As I said earlier, I hope that they will be able to bring this matter under control.
Well, on that note, that's our show for today's edition of Issues with JIDE. Special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade Tutoju, for those insightful analyses, as always.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, our viewers.
Yeah, and thanks to you too, our audience, for keeping our company on every edition. You can see the program anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at TVC News NG, and also at Ibrahim_Shita. On behalf of the rest of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.
Thank you.